Go Bulldogs. It's great to be in Union County. This is an area I know well. A lot of people don't realize this, but I see an old friend of mine, Mark Eastep here. Mark and I used to do a lot of refereeing basketball in Union County. So I've been called every name in the book in Union County. Throughout the 1980s, it was all due to Mark Eastep's bad calls. I didn't make one bad call, but this elementary school is absolutely beautiful. And I also want to compliment the leaders of Union County for the jobs that they've had to deal with. Union County is quite unique because they've had to deal with growing pains. And there are two kinds of pains you have to deal with in any organization. One is growing pains, the other is dying pains, but they're both difficult pains to deal with. And I just want to compliment the Union County leadership in education and their county officials and our great representatives here in Representative Horn and Senator Tucker in the work that they're doing, because growing pains are difficult. How to find the needed infrastructure, how to find the teachers, how to find the classroom space, roads, you name it, you're dealing with a lot of issues. But I will say this, I'd rather deal with growing pains than dying pains. And I want to compliment Union County for being a great place to live, work, and raise a family. And it's a beautiful land, too. Our goals here have been numerous. And I think we're fulfilling these goals. One is we want to strengthen education and also continue to improve the respect that we must have for our teaching profession. The second is I strongly believe in tax relief, especially for the middle class. And the more we can help the middle class and small business, the more we grow business, and that means more revenue for our schools also, because it's business and individuals that pay the taxes to pay our teachers and to pay for this infrastructure in our counties, our towns, and our state. We also have other goals, and that is to invest in our community colleges and our universities while also making our universities more affordable. And that's a goal because when kids graduate from our high schools like we have here in Union County, we got to make sure that they can afford school. We don't want them to acquire the debt. We want them to not have debt, and we want them to be able to graduate and get a job and make a good living. And the last, and the part that's probably not talked about enough, is we have to continue to improve the health care for our citizens. And I've talked many, many times about mental health, and the fact of the matter is mental health is the hidden disease that a lot of politicians and the public doesn't want to talk about, but it's within every one of our families, both mental health and addiction. And it's right here in Union County, whether you want to own up to it or not. We've got major addiction issues in our schools, and I'm talking middle schools and high schools and our universities in this great county. Major addiction issues in families and communities across this state. I also want to thank the teachers that are here today. Many who are preparing for students right now who are returning on class on Monday. I realize this is a teacher work day for you. You're getting ready. This is one of the schools that has opened up during the summer. And I commend you for adapting your schedule to work during the summer months after just recovering from a full school year. I think so much of you. My mentor growing up was a wonderful teacher by the name of Ruth Revels. I loved her tremendously. She was my English teacher and she was my drama teacher at Ragsdale High School in Guilford County. And Ruth was tough on me. And I'm not just talking about when I was in school. She was tough on me when I was governor. She was also head of my Indian Affairs. She was 79 years old, head of my Indian Affairs Council. And I'll never forget, she called me up, and teachers will respect this, but she called me up and she said, Patrick, I expect you to be at our meeting in Durham next week. And I said, Mrs. Revels, I still call her Mrs. Revels. Mrs. Revels, I can't make it. I'm going to be in Asheville, then I'm in North Wilkesboro, then I'm in Charlotte. I can't make it to Charlotte. She went, Patrick, I don't think you heard me. I expect you to be. I was still Patrick to her. And I said, Miss Revels, I can't make it. She said, Patrick, I expect you to be there. Mrs. Revels, I will be there. And she was just a wonderful role model. Sadly, I did the eulogy for her funeral about 3 months ago in the Pembroke area. But Mrs. Revels, you're still with me today. You made a big difference in my life, like teachers are making a difference every day in kids' lives throughout North Carolina. And there are a lot of kids that will remember you for the rest of their lives, like I'll remember Mrs. Revels, Ruth Revels, for the rest of my life. And I hope I earned her gold star that she wanted to give me as governor. Ms. Revels had such an impact on me that my goal was to be a teacher. In fact, after high school, I went to Catawba College, and my major was political science and education. And I got my teaching certificate, North Carolina teaching certificate, and I taught at North Rowan High School. And I found out something. I found out that teaching is hard. I thought, after observing my teacher, what a wonderful man he was, he said, okay, it's your turn, Pat. You're on now, tomorrow. So I got my lesson plan together, and I was all ready to teach those seniors a civics class. And I got my lesson plan together, and this is back in the days when teaching was all lecture, and it's changed so much since then. Well, I got my lesson plan, and after 10 minutes, I was out of material. And it's for has that ever happened to y'all? Because I was expecting feedback and questions and interaction. Instead, the kids were just staring at me the whole time. No feedback, and I was sweating. And my teacher advisor, I saw him taking notes, and I went, this is the end of my teaching career. So for the next 40 minutes of my life, I remember just sweating and surviving and recognizing that this is a tough profession. And one thing I want to say to the teachers in this room is, one thing I learned as a student teacher, and I learned it even more talking to teachers, is you are not doing this for the money, for sure. You're doing it because you want to make a difference in people's lives. You want kids to come back and go, thank you, and they're doing that every day. You're doing it because it makes you feel good that you're making a difference in kids' lives. And it's so great to have a job where you make a difference. But the fact of the matter is you haven't been respected like you should have. The teaching profession is not respected. Catherine Truitt, my great education advisor, who I want to recognize, she comes to me every day and goes, this is what teachers are saying regarding supplies, regarding technology, regarding being able to discipline kids and being afraid to discipline kids, and also regarding teacher pay. So we've made this a major effort of myself and the legislature. So I do want to let you know that right now, as of 2013, you might not be reading about this. You might not be even hearing about this from each other, but I want to tell you the facts, and this is the truth. Teacher pay since 2013 has increased faster than any state in the United States of America. Now, part of that reason is factually from 2001 to 2012, teacher pay dropped from 17th highest in the nation to about 48th in the nation. And I recognized that the day I came into office. And then we've dropped it since then to about 41st, 42nd. And with the announcements that we're making today, we're going to be probably in the low 30s in the nation. I haven't got the numbers right with me, but we're very, very pleased with that. But I want to let you know, teacher pay in North Carolina has increased faster than any state in the nation. Now, our first goal in my first year was to work with the legislature to help boost starter pay for teachers. We'd had teachers with 1 to 7 years of experience who had had no pay increases, no step-up increases, nothing. And the average teacher pay was about just over $30,000 a year, regardless of where you were, not including any supplements. And we're seeing people not wanting to get into the teaching profession for numerous reasons, but one of them is the pay is not competitive. And so our first goal, based upon a teacher advisory committee that we had set up, was the first thing, Governor, you've got to recognize, and principals told us this too, was that we've got to increase the beginning pay for teachers. So we've succeeded in going from $30,000 to $35,000 in 2.5 years. And that's not enough, but it's getting there. We've invested more than $1 billion in new funding for teacher pay, including the largest average teacher pay increase in the country. Today, I'm signing something else, and that is a 4.7% pay increase for teachers in North Carolina. But better than that, and we need to let this be known, the average teacher pay for the first time in state history in North Carolina will be over $50,000 a year. Let me repeat that. The average teacher pay for the first time in North Carolina's history will be over $50,000 a year, and that does not include, in addition to that, including health and retirement benefits, which we want to maintain and strong right now, which is getting tougher and tougher, especially with health care costs. But in addition to that, that's another $17,000 of total compensation benefits. So the average teacher pay and compensation for teachers in North Carolina is now $67,000, including compensation of health and pension. And that's getting more competitive, but we can do better. Now, these recommendations come directly from teachers and principals and superintendents. And my goal in the future is to continue to get your feedback and put more of the decision-making of how you can distribute that money into the hands of the principals and the superintendents and the teachers themselves, because I want to reward the best of the best. I also want to let you know that based upon Catherine Truitt's great work and the legislators' great work, and what we've really emphasized is we need to invest more in technology and textbooks. And therefore, since 2013, regardless of some of the things you've read, we have tripled funding for textbooks and digital resources. And by the way, pretty soon textbooks, like we see here, we're not going to see many of them anymore. As the classrooms I visit, everything's digital, and that gives us access to information across the world at the touch of your fingertip. Our budget also includes another major goal. When I came into office, just over 20% of classrooms were connected to Wi-Fi. Right now, we have just over 60% of classrooms connected to Wi-Fi. Our goal by 2018 with this budget will connect 100% of schools to Wi-Fi by 2018. And this is especially important for more rural schools in North Carolina. And that's quite an accomplishment. So I want to say thanks to teachers. It's not enough, but it's an improvement, a big improvement. And I just want to say thank you, because every day you have to show up. You have to show up. I don't care how bad you feel, you have to show up and give it everything you have, and then go home and collapse and show up the next day. And I see this firsthand. My sister-in-law is a school teacher. She lived with us for the past 3 years, and every day she'd come home and collapse in our house. And I understand. I get it. And I trust you. And I trust the job you're doing. And now our goal is to encourage more people to get into the teaching profession in the future, which is going to be a challenge for this nation and for this state. There are two other things in this budget that I'm very, very proud of. First is the middle class tax cuts. First of all, we wanted to help our businesses, especially our small businesses who are risking their capital every day. You know, we had a lot of businesses in 08, 09, and 010 just go bankrupt. And we needed to rebuild the economy, and since then we've become one of the fastest growing economies in North Carolina. But we also wanted to help the middle class. So since 2013, we have cut taxes for hardworking North Carolina men and women and their families and businesses by more than $4.4 billion. And this budget continues that middle class tax cut, which we hope to save taxpayers over $132 million over the next year. And we're doing this by increasing the personal income tax deduction by $2,000 for married couples, which will help put more dollars in the paychecks of North Carolinians. This eliminates, let me repeat this will eliminate income taxes for approximately 75,000 taxpayers in North Carolina. So we're raising the standards, so we're trying to make the state, again, more affordable, especially for the middle class. And I want to thank the legislature for making that happen. We also want to make North Carolina families be able to afford college. And starting with students entering school this fall, the budget will freeze. The budget will freeze undergraduate tuition for students at all UNC schools who graduate in 4 years or 5 years if it's a 5-year program. In other words, we're also trying to encourage kids to not be on the 8-year plan, but be on the 4-year plan. Because the 8-year plan is actually costing the taxpayers a lot of money and their families a lot of money. So we're doing twofold. We're making college more affordable by freezing the tuition and also encouraging kids to complete their college degree in 4 years. And we also have now capped any fee increases to 3% annually, because what was often happening outside of state government is our universities kept increasing fee increases by very large amounts, as though, oh, that's not an extra burden. Well, $100 here and $100 there or $50 here was making students not be able to afford the textbooks or the technology they needed and their families needed. And we're telling the universities that's got to stop. That's not going to continue. We've got to control our costs in our universities. We also are experimenting with a new thing that the Senate and some senators came up with this idea, and I think it's a great thing to experiment with. We're actually going to try at 3 schools to lower the tuition and to see if that makes a difference in more students being able to go to these universities, especially in areas where we need more people going to college. We're lowering the per semester cost by $500 at 3 universities. Elizabeth City State University, which is extremely important to us in the northeastern part of North Carolina, where we haven't had the economy recover like other parts of the state, including right here in Union County. It's an area that we really need to build the economy, and there are a lot of people who cannot afford college in that area, so we're lowering the tuition $500 per semester. UNC Pembroke, which is an extremely important area of the state where Mrs. Ruth Revels came from, and she would be so appreciative of this. And Pembroke University, we've got a great new chancellor there, and is very supportive of this effort, and it's very important also to the Pembroke, to the Lumbee Indians in that area. And also Western Carolina University, who have the greatest marching band in the United States of America. But Western Carolina, in that western part of the state, we actually have a lot of poverty. And it's kind of hidden between the valleys of the mountains. And it's one of the most beautiful areas of our state. But we've got to get more people to participate in gaining higher education. Western Carolina is one of the best. And I also want to say this budget also funds our bonds with no tax increases, our bonds for our universities, which includes the new science lab at UNC Charlotte, new engineering building at North Carolina A&T, new medical facility at UNC Chapel Hill, new lab at Western Carolina University, and also it's going to fund our community college system. So we're funding in this budget and future budget the paying of the $2 billion debt with no tax increase. And that's going to make a big difference to our community college system, our universities, and our state parks, which I'm very proud of also. The last thing I want to deal with is mental health. I said this at the very beginning. We have families that are going through pure hell right now. Pure hell due to mental health issues within their families. Some of it's due to addiction of alcohol and heroin and other drugs that is coming to our state like we've never seen before. And if we don't deal with this mental health crisis in our country and our state, we're going to be in deep trouble. And we're already in deep trouble. And I'll tell you, the people who are dealing with it right now are our emergency rooms, our sheriffs, and our state prison system. Well over 70% of the people in our county jails and our state prisons are people with mental health or addiction issues, and that's no place to deal with it. This is a bipartisan effort, by the way. I firmly agree with the president on this issue that prisons and jails are not the place to treat mental health addiction. And I've gone through a learning process on that since I've been mayor. And therefore, working with Supreme Court Justice Mark Martin, we put a task force together, and we've been pushing to put more money toward mental health. And I appreciate the Senate and House members recommending that. And we're putting, I think, well over $20 million more in addition into mental health. And this is going to help our case management. This is going to help our drug treatment. This is going to help emergency housing. And this is also going to expand drug treatment courts, which is extremely important, especially for members of the military who are coming home from Afghanistan and Iraq. I think they deserve it, don't you? And your sheriff is helping with this, and many sheriffs in this region, but we've got a heroin and opioid addiction crisis. And I believe it's in your schools. It's in your schools right now. And we better deal with it from an enforcement standpoint, an education standpoint, and a treatment standpoint, all three. And that's what this administration is attempting to do. So we're improving the economy. We're helping teachers. We're putting more money in K through 12 education, our community colleges, and our universities. And we're also investing something I'm as proud of as anything. And this is something this guy really pushed me on. He said, Governor, we haven't got enough in our rainy day fund. When I came into office, I think we had less than 3% money in our rainy day fund. And that's one of the reasons we had such a problem in 08 to 012 where we couldn't give teacher pay raises, because we were taking money to just keep our head above water. And that's what happens when you don't have money in reserves in your own family when a crisis hits. Well, guess what? Sooner or later, the economy is going to take a dip. And we better be ready for it. And we're building up a rainy day fund to 7 to 8% of our budget now. And I'm very, very proud of that. You don't get political points for that, because politically it'd be easier to spend that money and make everyone happy. But to put money off on the side is the fiscally responsible thing to do and the mature thing to do. And this budget is doing just that. So I'm proud of the educators. I'm proud of the teachers. I'm proud of the principals too, by the way. And we're increasing some of their pay. We've got to do better, and we're going to do better in the future as we continue to build the economy. I just want to let you know I recognize that. We've got to increase principal pay. It's not high enough, and that's another area that's underappreciated, because we've learned the stronger the principal, the stronger the school. And we're making some improvements in this budget in that area, but not nearly enough, and that's a major goal next year. So with that, I just want to say this is the best of North Carolina. This is North Carolina proud. I'm North Carolina proud. We got the best state in the United States of America. Let's keep building on this success. Thank you, and God bless you. And if I could invite the appropriate people. Yeah, absolutely. Got some new supplies for the. I want to especially thank the teacher advisory groups that we've had during the past 3 years that gave us so much positive feedback, the principals and superintendents who gave us a lot of feedback. I want to thank the legislators who are also not in it for the money, and they travel back and forth to Raleigh and catch a lot of heat, but they approved 90% of my budget. There's 10% that I'm still debating about. I won't bring up those issues right now, but that's a pretty good batting average. If we were in baseball, we'd be very, very wealthy at this point in time. But in the old days, the budget used to be basically thrown away by the legislature when the governor submitted their budget in the past decade. This legislature didn't throw away my budget during the past 3 years. They read it, they listened to it, and they implemented about 90% of it. And I'm sorry they were wrong on the other 10%, but that's okay. Sometimes we all have to compromise. So this is for all the teachers in North Carolina. God bless each one of you, and also all the educators, especially in our community colleges and our universities.